For 2 years, she had navigated its cramped aisles, carrying trays laden with steaming coffee and greasy plates of bacon and eggs. Every dollar she earned was a small victory, a tiny shield against a storm of bills that threatened to consume her. Her mother was sick, a silent, weary presence in a bed she had not left in months. The medical bills piled up like an insurmountable mountain, and Elena was the only one with the strength to climb it. Her most prized possession was not a new phone or a fancy dress. It was a simple, silver pendant that rested against her collarbone. It was a small, ornate compass, its needle fixed to point north. The silver was tarnished with age, and the glass was scratched, but to her it was perfect. Her father, a man she barely remembered, had given it to her mother on their first anniversary. Her mother had, in turn, given it to Elena on her 18th birthday, saying, "Let this always guide you, my brave girl. Never lose your way." She wore it every day, a constant, physical connection to a past she held so dear. It was her anchor in a world that felt constantly in motion. On this particular Tuesday, the diner was unusually quiet. The usual morning rush had passed, leaving behind a stillness that felt heavy with foreboding. The air was thick with the smell of stale coffee and disinfectant. The owner, a grim-faced man named Sal, called her into his office, a tiny room filled with the scent of old paper and desperation. "Elena," he began, his voice flat, "I must be direct. Business is slow. It has been slow for months. I have to make some cuts. You are a hard worker, but you are also my newest hire. I am sorry. Today is your last day." The words hit her with the force of a physical blow. Her mind went blank. She felt the blood drain from her face. She felt a cold dread settle in the pit of her stomach. "Sal, please," she said, her voice shaking. The other waitresses looked at her with pity, but they said nothing. They all knew the rules. It was a cold, cruel world, and no one was safe. She walked out of the diner and into the harsh afternoon sun, the world a blur of angry colors. She felt a profound emptiness, a deep despair she had never known before. She had lost her way. The compass around her neck felt like a cruel joke, pointing to a future that felt utterly and hopelessly lost. Just as she reached the street corner, her vision blurred by tears, a black town car pulled up beside her. It was long, sleek, and so polished she could see her own distraught reflection in its side. The window slid down, revealing a face she recognized immediately from magazine covers and news reports. It was Arthur Vance, the billionaire CEO of a technology empire. His face was a chiseled mask of authority, his eyes a steely blue. He was a man who moved through life with a quiet, unshakable power. He was not a customer at the diner. He was a man who ate at exclusive restaurants with chefs who knew his name. He was a man who lived in a different universe. Why was he here? She did not have the time to wonder. He spoke. "Pardon me, young lady," he said, his voice a low, commanding baritone. "I could not help but notice your distress. Are you all right? Are you lost?" Elena was taken aback. "No," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I am fine. Thank you for your concern. I must go." She turned to walk away, but his voice stopped her. "Wait." He got out of the car, a tall, imposing figure in a perfectly tailored suit. He walked toward her, his gaze not on her face, but on the small silver pendant around her neck. His eyes, which had been so cold and distant, were now wide with a shock she could not comprehend. His face, so stoic and unreadable a moment ago, was a canvas of raw, powerful emotion. He froze, his body rigid, his eyes fixed on the small compass pendant. He did not say a word. He just stood there, staring. She felt a sudden unease. What was he seeing? Why was he looking at her like that? She reached for the pendant, her fingers closing around the cold metal. "Is there something wrong?" she asked, her voice trembling. Arthur Vance did not answer her. He reached out a trembling hand, his fingers stopping just short of her necklace. Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice a broken whisper. "It belonged to my father," she said, confused. "He gave it to my mother. She gave it to me." He closed his eyes, a flicker of profound pain crossing his face. A deep, guttural sigh escaped his lips. "It is impossible," he murmured to himself. "It just is not possible." He opened his eyes, and they were filled with unshed tears. "This pendant," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "it belonged to my brother. He gave it to a woman he loved, a woman he said he would marry. They were to meet in London, but he never made it. The plane crashed. He was gone. The woman, she was gone too. We searched for her for years, we never found her, we never found the pendant. We thought they were both lost to us forever. Elena's heart began to pound a new rhythm. What was your brother's name? She asked, a sudden, horrifying thought forming in her mind. Ethan, he said, his voice breaking. Ethan Vance. Elena's hands flew to her mouth. Her father's name was Ethan. She had no idea her last name was Vance. Her mother had never told her. She had been too young to remember. She had only ever known him as her father, Ethan. Her mother had taken on her maiden name, and Elena had been given her mother's name, Martina. Her mother had told her it was a long story, a difficult one, and she would tell her one day. But that day had never come. The world seemed to spin. Her father was the brother of Arthur Vance, a man she had only ever seen in magazines, a man whose wealth was so vast it was almost incomprehensible. She was the niece of a billionaire. The pendant, her guiding star, was a family heirloom. It was the last link to her father, a man she had only ever seen in faded photographs. Arthur Vance, seeing the shock on her face, knew the truth. His own emotions were a maelstrom of grief, hope, and disbelief. He reached for his phone and made a call. I need an immediate private jet to London. I need the best medical team to be on standby, and I need a team of lawyers to meet me at my office. Now, he ended the call, his eyes still fixed on the pendant. What is your name? He asked, his voice quiet, filled with a new kind of respect. Elena, she said, her voice still trembling. Elena Martinez. We must find your mother, he said, his voice decisive. We must get her the best medical care. We will get her to London. She will have everything she needs. And you will never have to work a day in your life again. You are family. You are my niece. You are my brother's daughter. He put his hand on her shoulder, a gesture so gentle and so kind it made her gasp. I do not know what I am to you, he said, his voice low, but you are everything to me. You are my last link to my brother. You are my family. Elena could not speak. She could only nod, her eyes filled with tears. Her world had been turned upside down. She was a poor waitress who had just been fired, and now she was standing with a billionaire who had just told her she was his niece. It was a fairy tale, but it was real. The universe had not forgotten her. The compass had not led her astray. It had led her to a family. Arthur Vance helped her into his car, the leather interior a stark contrast to her own simple life. He sat beside her, his hand still on her shoulder, as if to reassure himself that she was real. He did not ask her to go to his home. He did not ask her to come to his office. He simply drove to her small apartment building, a rundown, forgotten place that felt a million miles away from his world. He walked with her to her door, his presence a powerful, reassuring shield against the world. He met her mother, a frail, beautiful woman who looked at him with a look of recognition, and then a flood of tears. Arthur, she whispered, I knew one day you would come. I did not lose the compass, I kept it safe. It was his. I told her it would guide her one day. I did not know it would lead her to you, to her family. The next few days were a whirlwind. Elena and her mother were flown to London in a private jet. They were met at the airport by a team of doctors, lawyers, and staff. Her mother was taken to a private hospital where she was given the best medical care in the world. Elena was taken to a beautiful home, a place of quiet luxury and comfort. She was not a waitress anymore. She was in the quiet elegance of their new life, Elena and her mother, whose name was Clara, began to heal. Clara, with the best medical care available, slowly regained her strength. She would sit in a plush chair on the balcony, the London skyline, a glittering tapestry before her, holding Elena's hand. I should have told you, Clara said one afternoon, her voice stronger now. I was just so afraid. After the crash, after Ethan was gone, the Vance family tried to find me, to help, but I was grieving, and I was so young. I did not want their pity. I wanted to build a life for us, just us. I wanted you to have a good life, a normal life. Arthur would often visit them, sitting with them for hours, not as a powerful CEO but as a brother and an uncle. He brought with him old photo albums, their worn pages filled with the life of a man Elena had only known in spirit. He showed her pictures of Ethan as a mischievous boy, a hopeful young man, and a man deeply in love. He was so full of life, Arthur said, his eyes distant. He was the best of us. He saw the world not for what it was, but for what it could be. He would have been so proud of you, Elena. He would have loved your courage, your heart. Elena felt a profound sense of connection, a feeling of belonging she had never known. She was not just Elena Martinez, the struggling waitress. She was Elena Vance, the daughter of a man who had lived and loved with a full heart, the niece of a man who had searched for her for a lifetime. Her identity, once a fragile and solitary thing, was now a strong, complex tapestry woven with threads of her past and her present. Her new life was a world away from her old one, but she never forgot where she came from. She used her resources not for herself, but to make a difference. She started with a simple idea, a foundation for single mothers and families who were struggling, a place where they could find hope and a new beginning. She walked through a building that would become the first center, her footsteps echoing in the empty halls. The space was large, and it smelled of possibility. She imagined a place filled with laughter, with hope, a place where a single mother could find a job, where a sick parent could get help, where a child could have a safe place to play. It was a place where a compass could be found. Arthur, seeing Elena's passion and her clear, unwavering vision, did not just fund the foundation. He offered her a place at his side. She began to shadow him at the Vance Group, sitting in on meetings, observing how a global business operated. He was not a traditional mentor. He did not tell her what to do. He showed her how to think. He gave her projects, starting with small ones and slowly increasing the complexity. He saw that her years of navigating a chaotic diner had given her a unique and sharp understanding of people, of logistics, and of problem-solving. She learned quickly, her mind, so long occupied with the small worries of survival, now absorbing the grand complexities of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. She became his trusted confidant, his right hand. She brought a perspective he had lost, a memory of a different kind of life. When he spoke of market strategies and mergers, she spoke of the human impact, of the families and communities that would be affected. Her voice, once a whisper, was now a clear and resonant presence in the boardrooms of the Vance Group. Her strength was not just in her intellect, but in her empathy, a rare commodity in the world of high finance. The first Foundation Center opened its doors on a crisp autumn day. It was not just a building, it was a testament to Elena's journey. She stood at the podium, her voice steady, as she spoke to a crowd of families who had been helped by the foundation. She looked out at the faces, and she saw herself. She saw the fear, the exhaustion, and the hope that had once filled her own eyes. She told her story, not with a sense of triumph, but with a deep sense of gratitude. She told them about the compass, about the diner, about the moment she thought her life was over. She told them that being fired was not the end, but the beginning. As she spoke, she felt the familiar weight of the pendant around her neck. It was a symbol of her past, but it was also a promise for her future. It was a promise that she would always remember where she came from, and she would always guide others who were lost. Her journey had not been about finding a new life. It had been about finding her true self. She had been a waitress, a daughter, a niece, and now she was a leader. She had found her place in the world, and it was a place of service, a place of kindness, a place where a simple compass could change everything. She still wore the pendant. It was now polished and cleaned, its silver sparkling in the light, but it was the same compass, the same guide. It was a symbol of her journey, a reminder of the past, and a testament to the future. It was a reminder that even when you feel lost, even when you feel hopeless, there is always a way forward. There is always a compass to guide you. The story was no longer just about a poor waitress and a rich billionaire. It was about a family that had been broken, a family that had been lost, and a family that had been found. It was a story about the profound power of a single moment, a single act of kindness, and a single small pendant. It was a story about how a lost father, a grieving uncle, and a brave daughter were all brought together by a compass that had never lost its way.